Alright, this is going to be a bit of a different video here. I've mentioned in a couple of the streams recently that I've been like completely one-shot by Kingdom Death. So we're going to go over some painting that I've been doing. This is one of the Pin-Up Survivors from the set, and we're going to be just going through a little painting video. This is very different, so I'm just more or less doing this because I'm painting these things and I got to get the creativity out. I'm firstly going through, I'm layering this up. It's going to be a pretty pale yet pink skin that we're going for. And I'm just establishing a couple of coats there as a base coat. You saw me looking at it there for a while. I'm just seeing where the light's actually hitting and where the shadows are going to be. That first base coat is really just to establish, you know, the actual skin tone. And then we start applying the layers. We're applying the layers pretty generously at the start. I think I apply 4 layers here. Just progressively adding more of the pale skin tone into a burnt red paint that I'm using to actually layer up that skin and get it to, as I said, that sort of pale yet alive, like pinkish pale skin. You find if you go too pale that the sort of model looks kind of dead, and if you don't, if you go too pale as well, and you have sort of poor coverage, or you jump up the layers too quick, it just looks like shit. So you see I'm there just picking out the details, the highlights. I generally will use like a sketching motion on these, especially if I'm doing some like more realistic scattering. However, Kingdom Death has some absolutely thick mummies in it. So if you're painting a big thigh or something like that that doesn't have a lot of like inbuilt detail, like a quad or anything like that, or like a stomach, for example, that doesn't have like abdominals or like a hip crease or something like that, you've got to be pretty volumetric with where you put the highlights. So just imagining where the light is hitting and then being pretty generous around that. Using an oval structure I find is often best. Now I'm layering over the black base coat here with an intermediate layer that is going to be between the black base coat and the white, so that I don't feel like ending myself for painting white in 35,000 layers over a black base coat. So I do that on a couple of these areas that I'll be painting in white and a lighter pink. I'm actually painting this for someone else, so they requested a pink sort of boots, gloves, and I don't know what you call that, like a bonnet that this chick is wearing. But so as I said, I'm going over there with some white on some of the brighter areas. But I just hit these ones here, the sort of rip stocking things, just with a straight pink. Surprisingly good coverage, actually, but I still had a much easier time going over the areas that I hit with an intermediate layer, because black is savage to do like lighter colors over. But this pink is very pigmented, so I established that base coat there, and then I'll be later on hitting that with a bit of a speed paint or a contrast paint, very heavily watered down, and then layering it back up as well. I'm going a little bit over some of the hair here as well, some of the browns, establishing the brown on the hair and the brown on the belt and boots and stuff like that. These ones, depending on where it is, I'll be bringing up the brown on the belt and boots a little bit more than I will be on the actual hair, and the darkest brown on the miniature itself is going to be the spear. So just representing realistic hair doesn't often go from like brown to like crazy, like almost blonde, unless it's styled that way. And you know, an old wooden spear is going to have even less highlight again. But leather can quite often have wear, or like where the light is hitting is a little bit sharper, because the leather has buckles and an established ridge at the side. So anything facing up towards the light's probably going to be hit with a slightly bigger highlight here. There's also like a little tunic thing under her, or like with her corset, that I'm going to paint, and the corset will be done in red, just because I think that complements the brown and the pink nicely. But we're just picking out a little bit of the details there on the hair as well, and actually all the brown components here. I think I'll hit it with a black ink as an intermediate to bring out some of those lower areas there as a more dark contrast. Just because this miniature's a little bit shallow on the detail, so I'll use an ink to create my own. This is me hitting the pink with, I'm essentially just darkening it, and I'm getting right into the recesses there with a speed paint. And then I'm going and mixing the initial pink with a black, and mixing it also with a skin tone, the white skin tone that I used for the actual the skin itself, just because I find that mixing with a white can sometimes be a little bit chalky and disgusting. But I'm going to be layering up here, you see, with the darker pink shade. Much like we layered the skin, I'm going to go with the darker pink, the regular pink, and then up to the lightest version. Now you're probably thinking like, oh, why did I start with the regular pink and then darken it and then go back and forward? Coverage over black, and also just establishing my highlights a little bit easier, seeing how the pink would actually respond over the black, because it's the first time I've used this paint. And I was actually pleasantly surprised. I fucking love pink as a color, so that's really good to know. But I'm going through here and essentially layering the pink, and you'll start to see how the pink from the like stockings and gloves and everything like that actually brings out the hues of the skin as well, in a nice little like contrast, like a rising tides raise all ships. I'm applying the highlights to the browns here. I'm going over and doing a little bit of glow work on that on the lantern that's attached to the spear as well, and just picking out some of the highlights on the red on the jacket as well, but just bringing out any of the sharper edges that are more towards the light, and any of the recesses, you know, like under the bust or any sort of areas that are naturally going to be obscured when you're looking at the model for face on, just leaving those in the base shade or the first highlight, whichever one is more appropriate. And you do go a little bit by feel, how bright you want the model to feel. I'm applying the final touches to the white here to bring out and the white really pops. You think when you're painting it that it's not going to make a huge difference to have gray in the recesses and then white picked out as a highlight, but as you can see here, it's starting to really kind of come together. Now, I'm going to be doing a little bit of, as I said, glow work on the actual spear where the lantern is, and a really good way to do that is like a glow contrast with the base color that you made for the spear before you did any of the detail work, and then just doing a layer of that like I'm doing here, then progressively adding more glow. And it just gives it more realistic, because that lantern would be lighting up that spear a little bit, but it wouldn't be making it glow white. So it's almost like a glowing, slightly brighter version of the base color spear. And here you have it, everything except for the base, and I did the pupils of the eyes separately because I can't do that on camera because I was shaking, because that's the hardest part. But yeah, something a little bit different. We'll see if this gets posted, see if it just goes to Patreon, but thanks for stopping by.